Today on The Joy Hour Show, I'm excited to welcome Tony Sablan, financial advisor, coach, and founder of the Ultimate Wealth Strategies. Tony is known for blending his background as a mixed martial arts coach with financial strategy, teaching discipline and resilience, both in wealth and in life. He's the co-author of Money Off the Table and host of the Unscripted Arena podcast. Today, he's here to share how money, mindset, and marriage are all connected, and how we can build strength and freedom in every area of life. I'm excited, folks. This is a topic that I need to continue to work in and work on. I've got 3 kids, a wonderful wife, but finances has been a problem off and on throughout my life, and it still tries to. But I'm so thankful for Tony being a part of not just this podcast, but he's actually been my number one and really only guy that I've been going to for well over 5 or 6 years now for all of our family's financial decisions, from life insurance to investments. And I trust him. He's done great things for our family, even when there's been dips and downturns. I've been very thankful for not just what's happened on paper for finances, but really the wisdom that he's continued to share with me and my family. And probably the most incredible moment I'll never forget was he came to my office a few years ago, and this is the type of guy he is. You know what I'm going to say here, Tony. He came to my office to sit down and go over all my finances and the investments, and very much a business meeting. However, I was having a moment. I was having a day. And I think somehow I started to cry right away. And it was just a rough day, week, a lot going on, a lot of pressure. And so we never talked about the finances. It ended up being like an hour counseling session. And I told him to send me an invoice at the end of it. But that's the type of guy he is. He's been a friend to our family. And so thankful for that. Just appreciate you, Tony. And thank you for being on Joy Hour today so the audience can learn, of course, who you are, but also learn more and more about how important finances are in our life and our relationships, our marriages. Thanks for being on Joy Hour.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Appreciate you having me on the show, and thankful for you and your family, and I'm glad I could be of help, and that you're impacted in a positive way. And that's essentially what I aim to do, because, as you know, co-authoring a book, I did a lot of research on just the whole topic of money. And there's a lot of books out there that'll teach you, right? It's no different than a lot of books on mixed martial arts, but it's about taking the action, right? And I think more than anything, what MMA has taught me is discipline, having a backup strategy, and also how to overcome loss and challenges, and resilience. I think when you talk about marriage especially, right, and you combine that with money is often the tool that helps families, do nice things, travel, create bonds. So any family that says, "Oh, money is evil," it's not evil. It's how you use it. And I had a meeting with a young kid recently, and he's wise beyond his years. And he said, he said the same thing that Tony Robbins echoed, which is, money just amplifies who you already are.
That's good.
So you have within yourself to see, who are you as a person? Who are you as a couple? And because that's going to help you either, keep you down or help you rise up from the ashes. So I feel like resilience is very important, and just also having a plan. It's a cliche to say have a plan, but quite frankly, most people don't have a plan. right? It's there. I'm sure you've seen this. You clock in, you clock out, you day in, day out, you wake up, and automatically you go through your routine, not being, thankful just where you are or just having another day.
Mm-hmm.
And then you compound that with money stressors and just makes life difficult, right? So yeah, I'm not sure where you want me to start, but
Well, you're kind of jumping into my notes already, and I like that. But yeah, discipline, it's not something we just wake up in the morning and always have, right? It's this constant mindset and commitment to this is what I do or this is what I don't do. And I think in a world we live in that's got so many good tactics on marketing and so many bright and shiny options, whether it's $10 or 10,000 or whatever it might be, more clothes, more fancy things that are nice but not necessary. I truly can say in my life I've learned the hard way that money did amplify the obvious, that I had a big hole in my life that I was trying to fill, that God-sized hole, that longing for purpose, that longing to be the father and husband that I knew I could be if I would choose to be disciplined. But because I worked a lot and for quite a few years made quite a bit, I was just incorrectly investing it into things because of lack of discipline. So a question I have, like I say, we're talking it already, but you often talk about these discipline, humility, testing yourself. So how do the MMA principles translate into financial behaviors that help couples reduce stress, anxiety, and fears around money?
Yeah, so let's start with discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Discipline is about having consistent habits. So if you're a couple where one of you orders a bunch of stuff on Amazon, for example, that's just the easy target. You come home, a hard day's work, and you see a lot of boxes up on the front porch. You're like, oh, somebody ordered something, right?
Yeah.
And then you your wife and you go, oh, that's, $20 only, $50 only,
Mm-hmm.
but it adds up.
Yeah.
Right? It's no different than the latte.
Mm-hmm.
So, I go, it's the practice what you preach. So I used to wake up in the morning, go get my cup of coffee from a drive-through.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, well, that's like $3 a day.
Or 7 now, but
7 now, right? So what's 7 times 30?
yeah.
You see people do this on the weekends as well.
Yep.
Right? So let's say 7 times 30, that's what, $210 a month?
And if you got a family of 4 or 5, it adds up. Yep.
Yeah. With a family, it multiplies.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're spending $1,000 a month
Mm-hmm.
on your drive-through coffee run.
Yeah.
Right? We won't get any companies. So it's that consistent habit where, okay, well, what if I just put $7 a day away? What does that look like? Whether it's in a high-yield savings account or some sort of automated investing program,
Mm-hmm.
right? What could that do for your family? What could that $1,000 do, right? And you just focus on what's the driver of your personal revenue, whether it's your job. Are you working towards a promotion?
Mm-hmm.
Are you making yourself valuable at your company or the company you work for? Or what are you doing each day to help your business grow? One little thing, it's those micro steps that really make an impact, that add up. And it's no different than the latte every day or eating out every day. Then the next thing I like to talk about is the humility. You talked about humility. I think these days we have so much access to information and tools. You can open up now ChatGPT, and I've actually been, I do some LinkedIn marketing.
Mm-hmm.
People will say, oh, ChatGPT is helping me. And like, okay, great. Well, I use ChatGPT these days as well to see if the financial plans I'm proposing are up to par.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're gonna find is ChatGPT only knows what it's fed,
Mm-hmm.
and also it's super general.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like having LegalZoom at your fingertips, but yet you still have people paying $750 an hour for high-powered attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, ChatGPT can get you some length of the way, but I think people yearn for connection, need that connection, because at the end of the day, you still need to talk to people, and have that human connection, right? Because ChatGPT also will miss out very important issues that people could miss out and cost them a lot of tax dollars.
Yeah.
That they didn't intend to take on.
Mm-hmm.
So asking for help is important.
Right. Well, I think that's where the coaching that you've done all your life with MMA and now, of course, finances for quite a while, back to the little personal story I shared, that was a necessary thing in my life that day, to have a shoulder to cry on. And as we go through life, whether it's job loss, divorce, physical health conditions, maybe one of our parents comes down with something, one of our kids comes down with something, how much emotion could ChatGPT really help with in that area? Maybe there's statistics and data and everything that can come through, but there's a lot to be said for somebody that you can trust and say, right now I'm going through this, but in a year, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have another good job going on and be able to pull out of this little dip. And you're helping me walk through that right now with my house still hasn't sold, and I'm waiting on that to happen. And so there's a bridge that needs to be built for a period of time, whether that's 6 months or a year, I don't know yet. But during all of that, I think there's so much more relationship that needs to happen when people are involved in finances. And it's one reason prior to meeting you, I never personally was into stock market or investments. I was nervous or scared that, I wouldn't really know what to do with it. And I'd wake up one day and, make good profit on the investment and go, hey, that felt great. But what about that day when I didn't have my finger on the pulse? I wake up and something happened drastically and all of a sudden it's gone, right? Or it's half of what it was. And so I think just the wisdom of being able to say, if you know it on your own, great. If you go to chat a little bit and learn some things there, hey, great. But I think the wisdom in really working with somebody is so many layers there of understanding what's the goal. And sometimes that goal changes. Right now I've got my 5-year, 10-year thoughts and goals of what's going to happen in my family. But man, it just takes one phone call or one situation to pop up and everything needs to shift and change to be a part of that. But, I know you've coached for many years, MMA, which I've never done. Still one of those things I want to try.
In the ring.
I know. I want to try sometime, but I need to. But there's a lot with that I remember you explained it to me once, the whole offense and defense at the same time. Can you talk about that? Because I feel like when the market did a dip 2 or 3 years ago, I was hearing from a lot of my other people I'm, talking with once in a while. And right when they had a pretty significant loss and were sharing kind of, man, I lost this much percentage, I had reached out to you and said, hey, how's my investment doing? And when you told me, I was like, oh, that's great. And so somehow I got to believe that you were doing the offense, defense approach and being able to forecast, you don't have a crystal ball, but being able to forecast with wisdom on being ready for some of these things where others, could just hear the news and make rapid choices and not see what's coming down the pike, but speak on the offense and defense at the same time, both with MMA and, of course, with your philosophy and way of looking at financial investments.
Yeah. So, when I say offense and defense or defense and offense, in MMA, if you can't protect the takedown, you're going to have a long night against a wrestler, right? So I look at that as, if we're relating it to the market, a business downturn, you don't get that job, you don't get that promotion, that's a setback.
Mm-hmm.
And then it begs the question, can you overcome that setback?
Right.
And then putting money in buckets that are designed for a purpose. Most folks will just, blindly put money into a 401k plan. Mm-hmm. But then when they need money, they go back to that well, right? So I would say, look, between your young career and retirement, that's a long time. That's a lot of life that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to put money in places where you could access it for the short term, midterm, and long term. Otherwise, it's a steep penalty to go back to the well of the 401k and take a hit, whether it's through a loan, if your company allows it, or whatnot. So if we know, and we have so many examples of the market just pulling the rug under so many of us when we least expect it, why wouldn't you put money in places where they're designed for a rainy day? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So why not? But yet people are marketed to, they're saying, oh, just do this and set it and forget.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's about having the right money in the right buckets and the right time frame.
Right.
Is important. I just think that most people could be helped with that, and helping them realize that, look, life is not a straight path.
Mm-hmm.
Or a straight path, I mean, it'd be so easy, right? But, when I met you, you had a successful construction business. You had your own personal challenges, but we designed your money with that in mind, which has helped you overcome these challenges. That's a fair statement?
Yeah, no, 100%. And it also, for me, kept it out of sight, out of mind. When I had met you, it was shortly after I'd sold a property, and I was not mature enough and wise enough to make some of the right decisions. I did use some of it for vehicles that weren't needed, toys that weren't needed. Again, it was at a time in my life I was trying to fill a void, a God-sized void. And so those two things are a recipe for disaster, to have extra financial resources and to have a void in a man's life can be detrimental. So I think, having taken a good chunk of that and saying, Tony, I trust you. Here it is. Take some risks, but play it safe. I'm not a real huge risk taker. I just told you who I was. We'd met multiple times. You'd met my kids, my wife, and I looked in your eyes each time we talked, and I'm like, I feel like I can trust him. And I'm thankful I did, because I think had all of that amount really sat in my normal checking and savings, I would have blown through even more of it. And now that I'm going through this huge life transition, moving across the country, that's taken a lot of my savings, and of course, just transition going on right now. But I'm thankful, my wife's thankful that a part of it was protected in a way where it was out of sight, out of mind. And every couple of months, I'll check with you and how's it going? How's it look? What's the number? And, that's the type of guy I am. Just for any audience out there that, is wired like I am, finding somebody you trust and going with it. Whereas some people, they've got a lot of time, bandwidth, and knowledge on how to do their own financial research, and they might want to see the numbers every single morning. hey, that's an option too. And I know you work with clients like that as well. That's great. But for me, I'm thankful that that came into my life at a point where I had some resources, because right now I'm literally living off of them as I'm in transition. And so thankful for that. And, thankful that you always give me a lot of information and always want to, educate me on more of what it is and where it's at and what it's doing. But for me, being a contractor all my life, I've learned to trust my electrician and trust my plumber and know enough about it that we're going to pass inspection and it's going to be built properly. But I'm not up in the breaker panel or down in the sewer lines with the wrenches. I stick to what I know, and I'm thankful that God's continued to teach me it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to trust even when trust has been broken throughout our life. Be cautious, have boundaries, have caution signs up there. But I do feel how important it is to, on finances specifically, talk with your spouse and make these choices on what are we going to spend on this? What are we not going to spend on that? Where do we draw the lines? But then having a third party, financial coach, financial advisor, to be able to say, are you sure you need that? I mean, it's your money. You'd of course give it to me if I said, send me part of it tomorrow. But at the same time, that's huge in our lives.
I think it's also just helping you uncover what's important to you about money, right? I think people often will focus on the wrong things, right? Especially when it comes to help, right? You can open up your app, it's going to tell you what you have, but what's it for? What's the extra percentage for? Are you taking unnecessary risk for that amount of money, right? And then, do you need to take the risk? Is the other question.
So, as we're talking about this offense, defense, I want to just quickly say how I know you won't brag on yourself, but I will for a second. So, on the coaching of the MMA, how many years were you involved with MMA on your own, and also how many years of coaching? Just tell us briefly a little bit of your resume on the MMA world.
Yeah. So, you can tell I'm not used to it. So I'm part of AMC Pancration, coached by Matt Hume. He's one of the world's, arguably one of the best coach in MMA out there. But, you'll hear, there was an interview by a guy named Chael Sonnen who talked about if there's 5 MMA coaches are in a room backstage before a fight and they're arguing about, a certain move or whatnot, and if Matt Hume walks into the room, that conversation's over. Basically, whatever he says is how it should be done, kind of thing. So I was coach under Matt Hume. I've had the privilege and honor of being part of Demetrius Mouse Johnson's fight camp and training partner since the beginning of his career till when he retired, right? So I was sort of behind the scenes, helping him prep for his fights. So, it's like it's to that level of MMA that we're at, and I'm still involved. I still coach. I still spar. I sparred yesterday. Spar with Matt as well, and I've been doing that for almost 20 plus years, maybe even longer.
The little bit I know about it, there was about a year and a half or two. My oldest son was doing some of that, and what I saw as a father was just that they were teaching him so much discipline, and it wasn't about punching some guy in the face or something. It was really about discipline and not fighting unless that was the only option left. And so just as a father sitting there watching them teach my son on, first of all, why we're doing this, why we're teaching you to be ready at all times. But talked a lot about, kids that get bullied and things like that. And it's pretty awesome, though, just the structure and the discipline that they were teaching these young boys. And I'm thinking in my life, a lot of when I struggled was because of lack of discipline and lack of structure. So if you're listening to this, think about where you are in your life when it comes to discipline and structure, emotionally, financially, spiritually. I mean, this is a huge part of life to be, prepared and ready, but you don't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to be a professional, wrestler. I'm going to be a professional, fighter and go in the ring, because they'll put you in a pretzel. So the little bit I know about it from a distance, of course, I admire. And I think it's a huge part of every part of life. Is men need to be disciplined and have structure so that their wife and kids can say, you know what? If dad says he's going to be home for dinner, he's going to be home for dinner. If dad says he's going to church on Sunday, he's going to go to church on Sunday. It's not this, I don't know what he's going to do. He's so unpredictable. He's like a feather in the wind. This is what we do. And when it comes to finances, that's been a challenge in my life. I used to work so much, I could just buy it if I wanted it. And then as that changed, I'm like, okay, now I need to think, do I need that item? Do I need that latte? I mean, it gives me a little caffeine, gives me a boost for an hour or two, and then what? I crash. I don't need that many, 1 cup of coffee in the morning, drip coffee, basic, that's fine. But through my life, I don't even want to think how much I've spent on coffee, because I want to change the way I felt, right? Well, what else changes the way I feel is discipline, putting in exercise, putting in the reps. But with the finances we're talking about, Tony, I just know that you've got a wealth of knowledge there from 20 plus years of MMA, and you've been doing finances for almost that long, 15 years in the finance.
I would say 12 years.
12 years, okay. And I met you, of course, through a friend that I knew from 26 years ago. I'll never forget, I was building a deck for a guy, and I was 19 years old, and as I'm building the deck, he was very thankful, and he goes, "Hey, kid, you ever think about life insurance?" I'm like, "No, bro, I'm 19. I don't need life insurance. I'm invincible. Number one. Number two, I don't have a family." And so he just lovingly kind of kept poking, and he said, "Well, if you ever do, let me know." And so I signed up for $25 a month, I think it was, with New York Life. And I'm glad I did. Still have that policy, and we've been able to work with that and adjust that and help it grow and all of that through the years. But relationships, folks, having a relationship is a huge thing, especially when it comes to finances. Who can you trust and who can you call? But I want to talk just for a minute about pride, identity, and addiction. Just feel free to jump in, bro, however you want here. Many people tie their pride and identity to money. And for some, financial stress can even fuel destructive addictions. So how would you coach people to break free from letting money define them?
That's a very tough thing, because when earlier in the show, we talked about how money amplifies who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've seen how it'll cover poor decision making.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the illusion of power that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
So how you break that, what I've seen that has been successful of breaking destructive patterns is loss.
Mm-hmm.
And then how you learn from that loss.
Ouch.
And then the question becomes, did that person learn from the loss?
Mm-hmm.
If they haven't, because, God gives you what you can handle.
Mm-hmm.
And God will bless you. But God will also take if you're not a good steward of what's being given to you.
Come on.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I've seen is that loss of something, whether it's loss of the wealth, will change your mind. Because now you're swimming naked. And then now you see who's really for you and who's never there for you, really.
Yeah.
Right? But then the lessons learned from that, it can be very profound if there was a lesson that you learned. And, sometimes it's tough. I mean, you deal with addiction when so much resources have been put to help somebody and they go back to that destructive behavior, it's almost disheartening. Right? But then it just confirms that person was just, they were given a gift in that fleeting moment, and they were just never going to be thankful. Right? So whether it's, and also just help will change how you act on money. It's that loss of potential mortality.
Yeah.
I feel like those are things that really shift a person's mindset, because you could talk the roof to them or whatever, and most people will just continue. Because, like I said earlier, money will hide your insecurities and poor decision making.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that's so good.
And also, like, having just a lot of it to continue to make poor decisions, you're just going to grab more money to cover that. Maybe one of those decisions pans out and, oh, I'm a genius now. But the truth is, just having the discipline to show up, whether it's in your business or your career, your family, and then just setting a plan that's, not so much set and forget, but the money's allocated properly and tried and true investment opportunities. Right? And then working with people you trust.
Yeah.
Because with money, you're going to attract all the yahoos that come out of the woodwork. So that's what I would say would make the strongest mental shift is loss of something. You're about to lose your wife. You're about to, not see your kids every day. You're going to have to face some truths and ask yourself, is what you're doing important to the family?
Yeah.
Right? Because those are the people that are going to be there for you when you're kicked down. That's people that were there with you when you didn't have money.
Yeah.
And then also just, like I said, help. It's if you're about to if you have a health issue and you've been doing all these things, drinking, doing drugs, whatever, and you want to live to enjoy the rest of your money, you're going to have to change your habits. Otherwise, you could be so unhealthy that most of that money that you've earned is going to pay for healthcare bills instead of enjoying life with your family.
Yeah.
Right. Going back to insurance, it's a very underappreciated tool, yet in my research for the book, high net worth people that understand how it can be used buy it all day long. Middle class America, they're taught to just have some of it, and then at a certain age you just don't need it anymore. Very untrue. So it's interesting to see that dynamic play out, right? And it all goes back to, do you have the humility to know that you don't know everything? You ask for help, look for good examples out there. So I started to digress, but
No, it's so good,
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Like loss will affect that change faster than anything.
Well, I'm right in the middle of it, as I was talking on earlier, and I feel like if we go too long here, y'all are gonna know more about me than maybe I want you to. But, I've had seasons in my life. I share it often, that the best financial years of my life were also the most miserable, empty years of my life. And that it's a fact. I was finding my confidence and my identity in Tom, the worker, and Tom, the guy that gets stuff done. And then therefore I did a lot of hours and a lot of projects on the evenings and weekends. So my pride, ego tank was getting full by lots of clients being thankful for their decks, their fences, their whatever I did on the after hours to hustle. And I think there was one year it was quite a bit. And, because of that, my family suffered and I wasn't at home as much as I could have been. And what's interesting is I blamed my wife for years that I had to do it, because she wanted the house or she wanted the car. And she's like, I never asked for either one of them. You said we could afford it. You do the books and you wanted to do it and you were pushy, which I was. I was trying to fill that void in my life. And she's like, I never once, if you think about it. And so finally, when I sobered up and I got to really analyzing and going through all those recovery programs, she's right. She didn't. She might make a comment that she'd love to take a vacation, but that doesn't mean all of a sudden I need to book the most expensive, biggest vacation out there, right? She might make a comment in front of me because she sees somebody else at a certain vacation spot and go, oh, that looks beautiful. In my mind, she just said, take me there, right? We see somebody drive by with a cool car and she's like, oh, that's a cool car. Who makes that? And she's not really into cars, but you know what I mean? She could make a comment, maybe so innocent, just having a conversation. In my mind, I'm supposed to get her one. But that's mainly because I had, again, this emptiness, knowing that I wasn't the spiritual leader of the home, knowing I was not disciplined in really being attentive at the dinner table or being intentional with devotions with my kids and my family. And I wasn't really leading in the most important areas. And so in the addiction and the pride and identity topic right now, I have seen it where my finances were great and everything else was horrible. And now I'm on the other side. My spiritual man's great. My marriage is great. My relationship with my kids is great. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I have peace. I have joy. And I don't miss my non-negotiables every single week. I'm loving my life more than I ever have in years. Finances are challenging right now. And it's okay. It's going to work out and I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep doing my best each day. And, so in the evening when I look in the mirror now, and I'll move on here, but when a man looks in the mirror, and a lot of men don't. For years, I didn't look. I'd brush my teeth and shave and whatever, and I wasn't really looking into my soul, and you can look at yourself or you can look at your soul. But when you stare in the mirror for a minute or two and you say, am I proud of you today, Tom? Did you do what you said you were going to do? Did you make it home for dinner? Good job. Okay. Did you read a little bit of Bible? Okay, good job. Did you talk to your wife and pay attention and be attentive? Okay, good job. And whatever they are. Did you exercise? Did you journal? And so now when I look in the mirror, I'm very proud of myself. And it has nothing to do with the bank account. Whereas before, bro, it was so bad that I would sometimes just grab 10 grand cash out of the bank and just put it in my pocket all day. Just to have it, just to feel it, just to think that I was something important. I'd go to a networking event and I'd put little $100 bills in my pocket thinking that made me somebody. I'd buy a Rolex, I bought a G-Wagon. I mean, what in the world was I thinking? Like, there's nothing wrong with some of those examples, but what is it? Is it my identity? Is it a pride thing? And a lot of times it is. It's sad, but money does give us this loftiness that I've got it in control. Everything is secure. And I think as the Bible teaches, we need to be careful of that and not be so fearful of life in the future that we control finances so much that really everything else falls to the ground and crumbles and breaks. And I work with men all the time that their marriages have fallen apart. I've lost some friends actually to addiction because money was great and everything else was a mess. Now, the goal is to find that balance, that in between of being disciplined spiritually, relationally, emotionally, and of course, financially as well. But one way I've seen lately to give myself a promotion and a raise, instead of trying to make an extra 20 grand a year, all I got to do is find a way to spend 20 grand less this year. And it comes down to the coffee, comes down to the clothes, comes down to those small Amazon purchases. So it is really amazing how much finances can impact the soul and the heart and the identity of a person.
I'm interrupting here.
Oh, you're good. A little low on the volume. Maybe it's my earbud.
Yeah, you also don't want to focus too much on cutting because you're cutting the growth, which earlier I mentioned, focusing on the real drivers of giving you the financial freedom to do what you like in retirement, which is working on your business. Is there an extra phone call you can make that could potentially lead to the $20,000 that you need? Is there something that you can offer yourself to your employer on a project that needs to happen that could potentially put you in line for a raise? Right? Because there's only so much we can cut given where the economy is in regards to just the cost of things, cost of keeping a household going. The American dream used to be owning a house. I opened up the Wall Street Journal, and there's a guy complaining that he bought a house in 2022 for $300,000 on the East Coast, but the operating costs of maintaining the house has run away from what he could afford. So now he wants to go back to renting. And, he listed his house, and he's had to drop the price 3 times. Right? So what if instead we focus on what could help us grow?
Yeah.
Right? God wants us to grow as a human being. And what does that mean? Right? To your family.
Yeah.
How it goes back to, I usually ask folks, what's important to you about money? A very general question. A lot of people don't think about it because, you're so focused on, what's your return? What have you done for people? Now, well, some clients get this or that, but what's that number supposed to mean to you? And do we need to take that type of risk? If all you really need is, you don't need a Bentley return if you're comfortable with a BMW lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's going back to, yes, be mindful of what you spend, but also be mindful of what can you do to grow as a person.
Oh, it's so good. Being a steward, being a wise steward, and being a giver. I do believe in tithing and offering, and letting it be ability to give without recognition. I saw my dad do that all his life, and we grew up real simple, trailer and secondhand clothes and food bank for quite a few years there. But my dad was always a giver, and whether it was $10 or $1,000 or whatever he chose to give throughout his lifespan to different causes, I did see him truly give a lot to churches, nonprofits, and individuals even, people that wanted their child to make it to a Bible college and had only half of what it would cost, and he would step in. And I hear these stories he's been gone for 7 years. I still hear these stories about Steve Lyman did this, he bought all the paint for our church. And I'm like, I don't even know where your church is. Who are you? So all across the country, he made an impact just when God would speak to him. And my mom and him, raised me in a way where they said, just remember, we're a conduit. God will bless and God will give. And if we're wise stewards, that conduit will just get larger and expand, and always bless others as we can. And then there's times where in my life I clogged that conduit up and became selfish instead of selfless. So giving is tied to so much of finances. There's nothing wrong with making millions of dollars. That's a great thing. We need those people that do. But I think it's important, whether you're given $10 or $1 million, to really look at the heart. I know time flies by here, but I want to jump into another topic here, and then I just want you to kind of wrap up any thoughts you have, and of course share with anybody how they can get a hold of you too. I highly trust and recommend my friend Tony here. I mean that from the heart. I've shared enough details. That's not why we're doing the podcast. We're doing it just to encourage you to, of course, work on pride and identity and addiction, work on practical habits and discipline, hope and vision. So for someone listening today who feels buried, maybe in debt, shame, or fear, what's the first step they can take to shift their financial mindset and begin moving toward freedom? It's a first step.
That first step, that's a good one. It's a good question. I would say find your why. It's such a cliche, but that why. Why are you having the challenges? What brought you to where you are today? And then where would you like to go? And then take one step. That's it.
Yeah.
So my mentor a while back, used the analogy of walking. If you take 10 to 20 steps forward and you look back, you're further than where you were originally. So for somebody that is dealing with some challenges, they're in the depths, what is the first step that you could take?
Yeah.
Is it going to the gym to get that cortisol out of your system because there's so much stress? Is it hugging your wife and just being thankful that your family's still there, right?
I guess this is going to wrap up here. They're telling me.
Yeah. But,
yeah,
having a vision. Have the vision, and you can reach out to me and find me on ultimatewealthstrategies.com. Reach out to Tom. He has my information as well. Or find me on LinkedIn.
Tony Sablan, appreciate you so much. We will do another episode here soon and dive deeper. God bless.